Hey guys, Harvey Cthulhu here, asking you to please consider subscribing to this channel. Doomcock is fighting a war to save pop culture, and he would really appreciate your subscription. Also, click the notification bell and give a like to the video if you like it. And if you could consider pushing the button and allowing me to escape my containment field and destroy the universe, I would really appreciate it. All right, on to the video.
My friends, today I am angry. I have seen the finale of Book of Boba Fett Chapter 7, and it straight up sucked. In fact, Book of Boba Fett punked itself and all its characters and many longtime fans with this final episode. It's going to be hard to break down all the things that were wrong about this episode for me, so it may take multiple videos to do so, but I'll take a stab at it here. For those of my geek brothers and sisters that may have loved this episode, I respect your opinion and I'm glad you could enjoy it. I certainly hope we can respectfully disagree, and if you enjoyed the show, I don't want to try and convince you that you're wrong, so you may want to stop watching this video because I really don't want to rain on anyone's parade. But as for me, I have to be truthful. It actually made me stop caring about Star Wars. It was that bad. Who knows, maybe over time, a lot of time, I could possibly regain that feeling, maybe once Disney pulls their head out of their collective ass, takes some writing classes and figures out how to tell a good story again, and prove to me multiple times that they genuinely intend to do a lot better. But until they do that, until KK is gone for good, until the sequel trilogy is erased, and until Gina Carano is made whole, I'm done watching this garbage. If suddenly they wake up in a cold sweat and realize how badly they've screwed everything up and actually do better for a sustained period of time, not promise to do better at some later date, but do better now, I may tune back in, but I have better things to do with my time than waste another minute on tripe like this. So let's talk a little bit about what was good in this episode. Don't worry, this part will be short. So, I like parts involving the Rancor, him rampaging, climbing buildings, throwing people around, destroying things. I always love monsters rampaging, and they did a pretty good job with this in terms of effects. It looked nice indeed, well done. I also liked Cad Bane. What a great character he was. Past tense.
What? They killed Cad Bane?
Yeah, just like they killed Emperor Palpatine, and just like they killed Boba Fett. In other words, probably not at all. Oh, he went down, and should be dead, was run clean through, but who knows? The lack of lasting consequences makes this plot point yet another cheap-ass stunt in a show filled with cheap-ass stunts. Either way, they did Cad Bane wrong in this episode, and as much as I liked what they did with the Rancor and Cad Bane, I also hated what they did with the Rancor and Cad Bane.
Holy schizophrenia, Batman! In the same episode?
Yep. Book of Boba Fett continually humiliated and punked their own characters, and I think it may have something to do with the frantic rewrites and reshoots even as late as last week. There was a Vespa chase that went on and on, that was cut way down thankfully, but to the detriment of the episode, they wound up cutting Han Solo and Chewie for some inexplicable reason.
KK? Did she have something to do with it?
I doubt it. I think the blame for this disaster falls squarely on Favreau and Filoni, although at this point, given all the madness and incompetence on display here, it's hard to dismiss the possibility of KK outright, since those things are her trademark. I know that Han Solo was in there. WDW Pro shared that with me. Others confirmed it. I have some details about it that I can't reveal for fear of doxing the leaker, and I'll try to figure out why he was cut, but he was. This episode was incoherent and disjointed, and I think the effect of patchwork quilt reshoots and desperate re-editing was evident. But what does it matter, honestly? Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn. How can I, when I am presented with so-called entertainment this lame? Some of the lowlights? Boba's impotent missile.
He can't get it up?
Oh, he gets it up. It just flops. See, the entire siege of the Pike Syndicate amounted to a handful of extras that they shot over and over again in some different positions. They fall like targets in a Tuscan shooting gallery. Then some peasants from Freetown show up, and it helps turn the tide. But then comes two, I think they were called scorpion droids, like mobile tanks with shields and giant blasters, and no one can deal with them.
How come Boba Fett doesn't actually get any of the muscle that Fennec promised him?
He got Mando and Black Santan. That's pretty much it.
And it never occurred to them to buy some robot sentries of their own with shields? To set up ambush points, traps, bombs?
Nope. Just Mando and Boba in a room alone, saying, okay, let's die charging them like Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid.
Not really much of a way to run a criminal empire, is it?
Nope. No prep, no traps, no tech, no hordes of mercenaries for hire, no plan, no precautions against aerial bombardment. And the Pikes are just as stupid. They don't even need to assault the building Boba's hiding in. They could just drop a bomb on it. Death from above. I mean, a SWAT team, modern day, with primitive weapons would do better than these clowns did. Oh my God, it was so lame. They had the balls to call that a war? Boba and Mando fly around some, pew, pew, and they go down and then they get up. It was a pitiful sight. Boba finally uses his missile to target the Scorpion droids. It blows up and doesn't faze them. So Boba's mythic missile that has been speculated about and loved for these many decades finally gets used, and it's a dud. It's even weaker than the Rancor he unleashes on the droids later. At least the Rancor manages to knock them around a bit, but nothing can get through their shields until something finally does. Din Djarin's Darksaber doesn't work on the shields until it does. Boba Fett gets fucking schooled by Cad Bane, who shoots him multiple times and has him unmasked on the ground, flat on his back. But does Cad Bane kill him? No! Boba uses his gaffy stick to knock Bane down, and then he runs Bane through.
He kills Cad Bane?
Yes and no. Nobody stays dead in Disney Star Wars. It's all a cheat, so don't worry, I'm sure he'll be back. And they even managed to punk Black Santan. Black Santan was actually ambushed by a small group of the very lizards that he regularly hates and kills for fun. They had blades, he had a rifle, and they still managed to stab him from behind and knock him down and get him pinned down on the ground with them on top of him. That is bad enough, but they made that badass Wookiee look like a punk. And then, when all these lizards had to do is stab him pretty much anywhere as he lies there, they cut away to another boring, disgraceful scene, and we see Black Santan dragging a bunch of those lizards toward Boba Fett and Mando, who are under siege. They don't show us exactly why the lizards didn't stab the Wookiee when they had him flat on his back piled on top of him, nor do they show how he got up again. Maybe while they laid on top of him, not stabbing him inexplicably, he got out a comlink, called 911 and said, "Help, I've fallen and I can't get up." They came and got the lizards off of him, stood him up, and then somehow draped the aforementioned lizards back onto him and sent him staggering home. Lizards not stabbing, Wookiee not attacking. Sometimes cutting away from crucial action is a narrative device to increase suspense. Other times it's a cheat because it's been so incompetently written and directed, they don't know how Santan turns things around, and so they just don't show it. Oh, well, he got away, see? How did he get away? That's a tale for another day. This show taxed my patience to the point that I'm all out of fucks to give. I'm tired of Baby Yoda, sick and tired of his cute baby-like waddle. I don't care how long your species lives. If after 50 years of life, you still can't talk and have a fascination with shiny balls, you're not a baby, you're brain damaged. This episode was so bad When Baby Yoda came waddling out in his adorable way and used the Force to subdue the big bad Rancor, then curled up and went to sleep next to him, I rolled my eyes so hard I saw my own brain. Enough is enough. As for whether they're going to erase the sequel trilogy, after an episode this bad, who cares anymore? At this point, I don't give a shit about Star Wars. Honestly, when for most of the episodes of a series you find yourself beating yourself up for not just putting on an old movie or some old Space 1999 episodes, or maybe some anime, it's time to call it a day. Disney's Star Wars is just not Star Wars. At least not often enough to merit stepping through episode after episode of Bantha Poodoo to get to something that doesn't make you stink when you step in it. They were wise to throw away half the Boba Fett season and stick in some Mandalorian episodes, but they should have yanked the final episode too, because it managed to finally make me bored, not just with this episode, but with Star Wars. Sure, my friends point out that they may still be erasing the sequel trilogy. I don't buy this idea that Luke's temple means they're heading for the sequel trilogy. That's bullshit. It's not the same planet, and it's not the same temple. The temple Luke occupied on Ahch-To was the first Jedi temple, with all the ancient Jedi texts stored within. So what Luke made was a copy of that ancient first temple, and it may even be that all Jedi temples look that way, modeled after the first. But who gives a shit anymore? Does it matter if these Star Wars stories are canon when these Star Wars stories suck? And Grogu's choice, holy crap. My friends tell me don't let your head explode. Grogu choosing the armor isn't the final word on erasing the sequels. Ahsoka is all over everything, and in her series we'll probably see major movement on that front. But the thing is, if they allowed Book of Boba Fett to be this bad, I don't want to waste my time watching Star Wars anymore. This episode was so incompetent on so many levels. It demonstrates a profound lack of respect for fans of a different kind. A chronic carelessness, or perhaps even worse, a dearth of imagination, like they've run out of steam. Grogu's choice was a terrible choice for Star Wars, and not simply because they chose not to upend the sequel trilogy with this much needed move. They can do that later if they want to. But the fact is, this was all just a cheap excuse to show Luke for a little while longer, and the thing of it is, in sending Grogu back to Mando, they have essentially said that everything that happened, the entire arc of Mando missing Grogu, Grogu sacrificing to go and unlock his past and become a Jedi, Luke's return, it was all bullshit. It was all pointless schmaltz and empty sentiment. Now, when I rewatched the season 2 finale of The Mandalorian, all that meaning in the exchanges between Mando and Grogu and Luke, all of that feeling will be flushed right down the toilet. I'll know when Mando and Grogu say goodbye, no big deal. They'll be back together before the next season even starts. When Luke meets Grogu, who gives a fuck? Luke isn't being a Jedi Master here, he's just a babysitter for a little while, amusing the baby by juggling a few frogs for him. None of it mattered. It was all flash and no sizzle. Now everything is reset exactly where it was, and the story doesn't advance, and this is narrative malpractice, if not fraud. In one scenario, the scenario I was hoping for, the Mandalorian and Grogu must part ways, just like friends on heroes' journeys often do, for their destinies diverge and they're helpless to resist. The Mandalorian must go bathe in the living waters of Mandalore as he fights to rule the Mandalorians with a darksaber, which is bound to bring him a lot of trouble. Hopefully too much trouble to worry about a 50-year-old brain damage victim who still can't talk and has a simple-minded fixation on balls and frogs. Brain damage, people, I'm telling you. At this point, I think it's just simple brain damage. Grogu, on the other hand, has a calling to go with Luke, to become a Jedi himself, to assert his own identity as a character with his own agency that could help determine the fate of the galaxy and possibly explore the trauma of him surviving Order 66. All these stories would represent change, forward motion, depth, and drama, but no, Luke was just a babysitter. Grogu got homesick, and so the babysitter took him home. Only not before. We were presented with two emotional goodbyes. The sad goodbye at the end of Mando Season 2, and another sad goodbye as Mando flew away without speaking to Grogu, only to be followed by Grogu leaving and going back to him, which dramatically invalidates every bit of fucking emotion that was associated with that, transforming it from drama into cheap schmaltz. No Jedi story. Luke was just a trick pony trotted out for show, then put back in the stable. He didn't matter. Din Djarin's sorrow was wasted. There was nothing to be sad about after all. Grogu left and returned before doing anything, before the third season even started. Disney is well known for cannibalizing their own movies with remake after remake, but here, Disney Star Wars devours itself, just farting out phony plot points that they completely undo between seasons. It doesn't even last a season, these so-called changes. We don't even get a half a season without Grogu and Mando doing their lone wolf and cub shtick, which worked for 2 seasons, but now it's old. It means forget about meaningful character development, forget genuine consequences, forget narrative integrity. The Mandalorian TM is simply a brand, and they want more marketing of Baby Yoda toys, and they want to tell the same stories over and over again because it's safe. They chose the safe path here. They didn't want to take the risk of splitting up Mando and Grogu, the risk of allowing them to grow in different directions, the risk of actually spreading their narrative out across the galaxy with mature complexity and drama. Nah. Let's just see how long we can keep these suckers happy having Grogu play with Mando's ball and go wee when he hits the afterburners. I'm disgusted. Turns out all the speculation about the sequel trilogy, we should have been speculating about whether they can show us episodes that don't suck right now, much less in the future. And the answer to that question, sadly, is no. No, they can't. So yeah, I'll still report on what Star Wars news and rumors I hear, for those of you who give a shit, but I haven't given Disney a dime since Rogue One, and now I'm not even giving them my attention for free watching a friend's account. If Disney can't take the time to observe some professional standards for the crap they're churning out, they're not worth my time and attention, and only you can say if they're worth yours. So until they prove to me that they have their shit together, I'm done watching this trash. I've got a lot of anime to catch up on. I think I need to do some vacuuming. From the center of the earth, this is Dictor Van Doomcock bidding you all, my friends, stay fucking angry. Ha 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 ha.